forward to talking to the family a little bit later on. Now, Ashley John-Baptiste became known for his music. You may recognise him from a little stint that he did on The X Factor, but his career has taken a different turn. And this is, hopefully, the first of many films for us here on The One Show.
These days, people often don't know who their neighbours are. But for some, the house next door may in fact be a sanctuary for those in need. Behind one of these doors lives a different type of family. Around 90 children are taken into care every day in England and Wales, and it's a subject close to my heart. I grew up in care. I was shunted between 4 foster homes, and I also spent 2 years in a residential care home. It was a tough time, but shaped the man who I am. So today, I've come to find out what it's like for the kids starting 2019 in care. Hello, Caroline, nice to meet you. One of those children is 15-year-old Paige, who's been here for the past 3 years.
In my life, I've not really been wanted. I've been in care since I was like 6 weeks old. It's like hard knowing that, and like there's not a high chance I'm going to be going back home.
When I grew up in care, homes like this one was seen as institutional, a bit cold, a bit clinical. I mean, how's this home for you?
I just feel like I can be myself in this home. Some staff I do have a really good attachment to. We do have our like ups and downs, but we always come together as a big family, and I think that's really sweet.
A big family. It's a nice way of putting it.
I know, yeah. Knowing that in like a year or so I'll be leaving, it's like heartbreaking. It'll be 4 years in October, knowing that I won't have them. It's like really hard.
14-year-old Holly came here in November and has just spent her first Christmas in the care system.
I felt like an intruder, really. I was like, I'm coming into your home and you're just like befriending me and being lovely to me.
You're about to start school. When other students ask you, what did you do for Christmas? What are you going to say?
I'll just be like, well, I just had a nice Christmas in my care home. They're not going to say anything, are they? I wouldn't expect to be teased or anything because no one's teased me so far. And if they did, I wouldn't really be bothered because this is like where I'm comfortable, I'm happy and I'm proud of being here, so.
Caroline has been the manager here for 7 years.
We're a 4-bedded children's home. We're run by a children's charity. We aim to sort of rehabilitate the children, ideally back into the family home or into foster care.
But how is this home perhaps a bit different to other care homes?
I feel like we go the extra mile. Children's homes were seen as a last resort, whereas now, because of what we can offer in terms of therapeutic work, I think we're more seen as a first resort because some young people aren't ready to attach onto a family that's not theirs.
This is a house clearly full of love and positivity. You look at the signs on the wall, you hear the staff telling the kids that they love them, and it's clear that the kids are happy to be here. Young People's worker Heather is one of the team. That smells so good.
It's my way of getting some veggies into them. It is like being a mum, it's like being in your own home and you do the day-to-day tasks with a bit of paperwork thrown in that you wouldn't necessarily do at home.
I remember having workers who would go home and switch off. Do you ever feel guilty about that?
Yeah. When I'm here, I give them me, I give them all of me. But I've also got a separate life. I've got a husband, I've got children, I've got grandchildren. But this is like a second home. But
there are limits, there are limitations to you being a mum in this home.
Yeah. I'm not the mum they want their own.
When I was growing up, the attitude was that kids in care didn't do that well. But homes like these are vital in challenging those misconceptions and, most importantly, showing the kids that they have potential, that they have a future. I'm joining the group on one last day out before they head back to school. Do you have any hopes for this year?
It'll be a better year than 2018.
I really like the city of New York, so I hope I would visit there sometime. I've got a family that can push me on and say, yes, you can go to New York, and yeah, I'll go there one day.
It's nice to know that I'm loved. It's nice to know people care about me. And it's nice to have fun and spend time with the people you like spending time with. Who knows what lies ahead?
Well, a big thanks to Action for Children for letting us film with them, and Ashley is here now. Thank you for that film, Ashley, so insightful. And something that struck us is what you said at the beginning, you know, about lots of people not knowing who they live next door to, but actually it can be a real haven for people. You know, how different was that care home? Because it looked like a great setup. They described it as a family and as a home. How different was it to the one that you experienced then?
So I lived in a care home for about 2 years when I was about 10 years old. And what struck me about this home was how normal it seemed. It just seemed like a normal home with a normal family.
It did.
The care home I lived in felt like an institution. First of all, it looked a bit like a centre. It was large, a bit clinical, a bit cold. There were 9 guys my age in the home. And, for example, the workers never said, "We love you." Now, in this home, the workers kept telling the kids, "We love you, we love you." And that struck me as quite emotive, because in my home, that was never said to me. I never had someone say, "Ash, I love you." So, massive differences. This one just felt really human. It felt like a normal family.
And, Ashley, statistically, the number of children now in care has gone up by a quarter in the last 10 years. Any thoughts on why that is? Because you are, I mean, you're now a BBC journalist, aren't you? You've been looking into this.
Yeah, I have. I mean, there's a bit of scant research generally when it comes to care, but safeguarding, I think local authorities are better when it comes to the safeguarding of vulnerable young people.
Right.
I also think that young people, generally speaking, are just more informed. So, for example, if a kid was, you know, feeling neglected at home, they would probably be more likely now to go to, you know, a local authority and say, "Hey, I need a bit of help."
To speak up,
So I just think it's a culture of safeguarding and awareness compared to when I was in care.
Yeah, and of course, you know, it's a huge subject and one we can't cover completely. But apart from domestic violence, what are some of the other reasons then that children may be taken into care?
What a question.
I know.
Yeah, it's a big one.
Oh, that's a hard question. I think actually, and this is an opinion, I think austerity plays a role. I think that a lot of young parents, a lot of vulnerable parents might say, "I can't afford to look after a kid." And they might refer them to social services. I also think there's an issue of generational care. So my mum was 17 when she had me, and she couldn't cope with the pressure of being a mum, and she was a care leaver herself, and so the cycle was that she couldn't look after me, and so I was put into care, and I think that's an issue. A lot of people who've been in care, when they then, you know, grow up and have kids, they sometimes send their children into care.
Yeah. And Don, you were saying that you spent a lot of time with your grandma out in Trinidad when you were how old were you at that time, and what effect did that have on your childhood?
I was very young. My mum came to England and she left us with her mother, which was a thing people did in the Caribbean. I don't know, I was 3 possibly, but I think I was lucky because my grandmother was really nice. When I think about it now, I have very fond memories of her, very warm memories, you know. I think that as a kid what you want is to be loved, really. And I think in many ways, I don't know, but if you don't have a parent, if you can be with somebody who's who gives you that feeling of worth, then it's great.
And that goes back to what you were saying, Ashley, about hearing those words there at that care home.
Yeah, absolutely. It's like, it's just a basic human need, isn't it? Like it's stating the obvious that every young person needs to be loved. And I, in many ways, am quite fortunate. You know, I went to uni and I would say that I'm flourishing, I've got a good lifestyle, and I can source people who, you know, they help me and they love me. It may not be, you know, sort of your typical mum or dad, but I've benefited from people who care, and I think every person in care needs that, which is why I was so happy to see a home that just felt like a place full of workers who loved the kids.
Well, Ashley, it was a great film. Thanks for making it for us.
Yeah, hopefully you'll make more.
Yeah,
I'd love to.
What we'd like. Good lad. Excellent. Well, in a moment...